identify red flags in either potential clients or clients that you've taken on?
Well, I think in my case, it is integrity is important. I look for what they say, and I listen to what they say, and I listen to what they don't say. And
Mm,
sometimes what they don't say tells me a lot more than what they are saying. And the other thing that I keep an eye on is if I ask a question, do they give me a short answer, a long answer? Do they take a deep dive, uh, or they just try to skirt the question? I mean, that's how I read people, and so that's what's more important to me.
great.
And absence of information is more telling. It's the same thing I do with TV. I don't listen to what they say. I listen to what they are not saying, and that tells me a lot.
Mike, I think I'm going to say a lot of what you said in slightly different verbiage.
Mhm.
I'm big on disqualifying. I will let you know. I don't work with people who their 5-year books were written last year. I don't work with people who think that they're going to get 4x their modifier when that industry doesn't deserve it. Anything that's a red flag for me, I let them know that they can disqualify themselves early on. And some people lie or deceive, not intentionally. Most people are sleepwalking through life and just want the best thing to happen. And what Mike said is really, when I ask a question, are they reading a script? Are they telling themselves a story? Or are they actually answering the question? And if they're doing the first two, I'm not that person. I'm too aggressive. I've got severe ODD. I don't want to ruin your day because you're lying to yourself and I'm a witness to it. So I opt out of that as well. There are more than enough people who are hungry and want to help them. I have no interest in it. And again, I'm not going to make their life better. I play hard in the paint and I don't play childish games in an adult world. So I try to never even make them clients before it happens.
No, you're right. Totally correct. And the other thing that I find in my practice is that uh, I would say 90% of the business owners do not understand financial statements.
Too busy running a successful business, they know there's more in their account at the end of the month. That is a thumbs up. Unfortunately, no one can buy that.
Yep. And they are great entrepreneurs, but to combine their ability to read financials, nope. And that's one area that I find. And accountants are one thing. CFOs are better. CFOs understand the operation. Accountants, they look in the rear view mirror, and their only job is, gee,
Right.
would the tax guy come after? CFOs are managers. I guess. I know you are a fractional CFO. Did I?
I am. I am.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anik, you had a comment?
Yeah, so I found I started teaching people how to read their financials kind of accidentally.
Mm.
I like well because and so I like to take a look at a view of the last 12 months on a month to month, because those of you who work with numbers, you know how easy it is to see the irregularities when you take that view. And so with time, what I found the best, because the people who don't know how to read their financials, it's not because they're stupid, it's because they're terrified. They look at those numbers and they're like, I don't understand any of this, right? And so they spend most of their time in their business really confident that they know what they're doing, but then they start looking at numbers and they lose all of that confidence. And so to me, the most important thing is to show them that they know this stuff, they just don't understand how to read it. And so I start by asking questions. To me, a consultant asks questions, doesn't provide answers. We don't freaking know, right? So I'll find an irregularity and I'll be like, how come it was like that this month? And they'll start explaining it to me. And I'll do that 2 or 3 times. And every time they answer my question, they realize I don't know more than they do. Oh my God, the professional doesn't know more than they do. And now they realize I know more than she does because I'm in my business every day. And after me pointing out 2 or 3 things, they're going, oh, in that month, this number was like that because blah, blah, blah. And they're picking out the irregularities and they're going, holy shit, I know this stuff. And when you start there, because the P&L is the one that matters, right? The balance sheet, it's even stranger to them. So if they're not interested, if they're not going, oh wow, I know this, the balance sheet's going to be a nightmare. And so that. And then a cash flow report is just a balance sheet comparison. When you pull a balance sheet comparison and you show them that that last column is the same thing as a cash flow report, that's a Penny Lane, Wheeler, Kroll. Anyway, that's a Facebook construction industry person trick. But yeah,
Right.
showing them the reports in a way that they can look. And then after that, when they're looking at their annual report comparing to the previous year, their brain's doing the same thing as the month-to-month comparison. It's really, to me, that P&L month to month for the last 12 months gets them in, sucks them in because it gives them that confidence. And now they're curious to know more about the other reports.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times people would say, I have 30,000 in the bank, I made $500,000, and I'm making a profit. Where's my money? And I'll say, well, you either spent it, you took it out as a draw from the business, or you have accounts receivable that nobody's ever paid you. And that's when, to Anique's point, they go, well, what's accounts receivable? Where is that? I don't see that. That never shows up on my income statement. That's right.
I think we should always appreciate that there's a real fear into looking at your actual books, because you can be successful from the aggregate. And when you ask someone to look deep in something, we're not looking for the wins the first time. We're not, although we could, that's not actually what's happening. Look, you've got an aggregated number. We need to break this thing up, because that's the only way we're going to find out the real things. And sometimes just acknowledging it, look, this is probably going to feel like we're looking for all the black eyes in your business. Acknowledge that fear so it can dwindle, because a lot of people, yes, it's confusing, which is another form of fear, but at its core, they don't want to feel bad. And guess what? You know what? One of the biggest things that can happen? We just found a fire that they didn't know about. And yes, it does affect their business and our minds, but they are completely okay being ignorant and feeling good about whatever level of success their business is having. And just like, yeah, we have to look at our worst mile if we're going to increase our overall lap time. It's incredibly important, and we don't find those without looking at them. Again, meditation is incredibly powerful. Being able to not be associated with the feelings and emotions that we get based on the things that we're doing, incredibly powerful. This is an analytical process. You shouldn't feel bad. You should feel enlightened. But most people, most of the time, this feels like, oh, we're going to grade your test. We're back in school, and there's no way you can pass because no one's doing it correctly. That's why we're talking. You didn't call me because you didn't have a problem. You called me because you did. But that means we have to look at those problems specifically. Also, let's not waste our time. You might have 3 problems, and one is 80%. And it's going to suck. Those 2 problems that are 10% each, they feel equally bad. They feel just as bad. Without knowing all 3 and measuring them against each other, having some considerations against them all, it is massive. Most things that business owners don't do is either they're too busy or they don't want to feel bad. And that's kind of like the human condition at its core, unfortunately.
One of the key things I have people that use QuickBooks use is the percentage of sales P&L. And I tell them, run that every month and compare it to the month before, or months, and see if there's any shift in those percentages. And if there is, you need to look at that. That's a signal. It could be that everything's fine, but you need to understand why it's going the direction that it's going so you can address it sooner than later. So it's just these simple tips to tell them, you just have to tell them, what tool should I use to manage my business? Yeah.
I just
go ahead. Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm as a business owner, my company's been, I've been doing it for almost a year. When I'm talking to another business owners, it seems like they are, as you mentioned, they just want to talk and they don't want to listen. Sometimes you might have solution for that specific business, but they're not open to receive that feedback. And they're just complaining about how busy they are, how they so overworking, more than 18 to 16 hours per day. And when that happens, as a business owner, you should go back and see, what's my options there? What can I do to have this business and also to be able to balance my life. But as what I'm trying to talk to business owners about, what I do and what services we provide, it's so interesting that when you want to introduce yourself, they're not so much open to hear you. And as a new business owner, I'm like, wow. Then if they're not able to hear me, how they want to receive help? Um, so it's and I think it's just that American culture. I don't know. Maybe this is how
Human
we
nature.
are. We are so automatic. We want to have we can do everything by ourselves, and we are heroes. And sometimes we just have to take back and listen. Sometimes.
Just